Okay, and so we do have a question in the Q&A. Erin Yoon is asking, hello, I was wondering what exactly is going to be covered in this meeting. So today in the meeting, we're going to go over kind of the basics of study abroad in Korea. So what options there are for you to study abroad in Korea, application timeline, some popular courses that students take, housing, differences in the programs and things like that. So it's kind of a general info session for anybody who's interested in studying abroad in Korea. So I hope that answered your question. All right. And so if you do have any questions along the way, feel free to type them in the Q&A. I'll try to leave plenty of room for questions at the end. So just type those in and then I'll answer them once I wrap up with the presentation. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And before I start, another person has asked if students will have access to the webinar later for future reference. Yes, I'm recording this webinar and it'll be posted. I'm not sure if it will be, where exactly it'll be on our website, but it will be available. Yes, great question. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here and we will get started. Again, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate that you all are able to Zoom in for this, and I hope that you find it informative. All right, so just to introduce myself, I'm Sabrina Kaiser. I'm an advisor in the Study Abroad office at UCSD, and I work in my portfolio, I cover China, Hong Kong, India, Singapore, Korea, and Taiwan. So many of the advisors in our office sort of cross-advise, so I advise on a few other places as well, including Japan, Australia, New Zealand, but my main portfolio is those 6 countries that I mentioned. And so today we're going to talk specifically about studying abroad in Korea. Korea happens to be my most popular option in my portfolio. I certainly meet with students to talk about Korea more than any other program that I offer. And so we have quite a few students who study abroad in Korea in the summer, in the fall, not quite as many in the spring, which I'll get into in just a minute, and then also the academic year. So these are just a few shots. Some of these I took actually during a site visit to Yonsei University in Korea about 2.5 years ago. So you see the Yonsei campus up in the top left and some delicious food that we were able to eat while we were there. And then just a shot, obviously, of downtown Seoul on the right there. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So just some updates about study abroad at the moment. Obviously, we are experiencing a bit of disruption due to the COVID-19 situation across the globe. So unfortunately, all of our summer 2020 programs were canceled. We're hopeful that by next summer, all those will be up and running, but we did have to cancel all of our faculty-led EAP and OAP programs for this coming summer. The status for fall 2020 programs is yet to be determined, and we're hoping that those notifications and those decisions will come through probably in the next week or so, hopefully by early June. So we will give you more information on that. If for whatever reason anybody who's on this webinar has applied and is enrolled in a fall 2020 program, more information is coming. And then for spring 2021, we're really hopeful that everything will be up and running by that point. So all those programs are currently scheduled to run. Those deadlines are happening right now. The Korea deadline for spring is coming up on June 8th. So I'll talk a bit more about that in just a second. So as I mentioned, bit of disruption in the study abroad world due to COVID, but we're really hopeful that we will bounce back from this and that there are blue skies ahead for study abroad. All right. So just to get into one of the types of programs that we offer, so UCEAP, some of you may have heard of this before, it stands for Education Abroad Program. It is our largest program partner, and we have options in, I believe, over 40 countries through EAP. And I'll get into the options in Korea in just a second. So again, this is our largest program partner, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the only option for you or the best option. Just depends on your specific situation. So again, I'll give you some more details on that in just a second. And the UCEAP program is open only to UC students. It was designed for the UCs, so you'd be on the program with other UCSD students and then with other UC students in that EAP cohort. They offer options for summer, quarter, and it should say semester in there, and then year as well. You earn UC credits, UC units for these courses that you're taking, and you'll get grades that will factor into your UCSD GPA. Financial aid applies on UCEAP programs. So if you do receive aid at UCSD, whether that's federal, state, or UCSD aid, that will apply to an EAP program. So that's something to take into account when choosing which program is the right fit for you. Outside of UCEAP, we have what we call OAP, so that stands for Opportunities Abroad Program. This essentially is a network of study abroad providers. They offer programs all over the globe, and also aside from enrolling through another study abroad provider outside of EAP, you can directly enroll at a university. So if you know of a particular university in Korea specifically that you'd like to study abroad at, you can do that, and if we don't have a partnership through EAP, you can just directly enroll, and that would be considered an OAP program. The difference there is that through OAP, you're getting transfer credit instead of UC credit. The courses can still fulfill major and GE requirements, and you can use federal and state aid on these programs, but not UCSD aid. So that's one kind of difference between OAP and EAP. If you do receive UCSD aid, then that might be a reason why EAP would be more financially feasible. And then alternatively, if you are an out-of-state or international student, then perhaps OAP would be more affordable because there wouldn't be any out-of-state fees attached to that program, which there would be through EAP because that's a UC-centric program. Again, we can talk more specifically about your individual situations. You can always set up an appointment with me or send me messages in the virtual advising center. So we can kind of talk through what might be best for each individual, but just as a general rule, just wanted to give you kind of some of the reasons why students might choose OAP versus EAP or vice versa. All right, moving right along. So for OAP options in Korea, again, as I mentioned, you can directly enroll at any accredited university in Korea. We have a lot of different programs that are offered through providers. So one of the providers that we work really closely with is International Studies Abroad. We sometimes call them ISA. So they have programs at Busan National University, at Konkuk University, and at Korea University. So again, these are outside of EAP. This would all be transfer credit, and you can use federal and state aid on these programs, just not UCSD aid. So that is a snapshot of some OAP opportunities. And then EAP, as I mentioned, this is our most popular option, and Yonsei University is my most popular program in my portfolio. So Yonsei is one of the oldest universities in South Korea. The Yonsei partnership with EAP has been going on for a very long time. So that has been running at least a decade, I believe. And so we've had many, many students over the years who've done this program. There are lots of courses that we have on the EAP course catalog that previous students have taken. So this is, again, like I said, an old partnership that we've had for quite a long time. And so just a little bit more about Yonsei University. It's roughly 38,000 students, very walkable campus. It is near the city center. It's in the university district, lots of students in this part of town. There's a subway station near campus, and I actually had the opportunity to visit Yonsei University, as I mentioned at the top of the webinar, and I'll share some pictures in future slides. So yeah, very walkable campus, like I said, very centrally located, easy to get around. So that is, again, that is the program that's been running for quite a while. We've had many students on that program. Seoul National University, on the other hand, is a brand new partnership. We're very excited about that. So EAP just added SNU to their portfolio. Fall 2020 was supposed to be the first term that we were going to have students there. We're not quite sure if that's going to work out. We were supposed to have a student there this fall, and we're not sure if that program is going to run, but we will have more information on that in the coming weeks. But hopefully we will have students there in the spring, if not in the fall. And so this university, it's the largest campus in Seoul, roughly 28,000 students. The campus is a bit more spread out, and it's located outside of the city center. So whereas Yonsei kind of feels more like a contained campus in the way that UCSD does, Seoul National University feels a little bit more like an NYU sort of feel, where the buildings are a little bit more spread out. So it's not quite the contained campus feel. And that's not to say that one is better than the other, just to kind of give you an idea of the student experience and what the campus feels like. It is in a very beautiful area. It's nestled at the edge of the mountains and close to the Han River, easily accessible by subway. So the public transportation in Seoul is quite extensive. It's very easy to get around by subway and by bus. So again, both of these universities are in good locations, just a little bit different feel on the campus. And then let's skip ahead here. I have not had the opportunity to visit Seoul National University, unfortunately, but I hope to do that soon. Some of you may have been there before, but I can speak to the beauty of Yonsei's campus. I'm sure that Seoul National University is very attractive as well. And then for the terms for Yonsei University, you can do summer, fall, spring, or year. Summer is the most popular option. So for summer, usually I have between 40 and 60 students from UCSD on that program. For fall, it's usually around 20 to 30. For spring, a smaller handful of about 5 to 10. And then for the academic year, it's usually just a few. And for the spring, so both Yonsei University and Seoul National University are on the semester calendar. So if you were studying abroad for the spring semester, you would miss winter and spring quarter at UCSD. This is absolutely doable. It requires a little bit of pre-planning. Obviously, we want to make sure that you are staying on track to graduate on time. So we want to be sure that you're getting the courses that you need during that spring semester, so that missing a winter and spring quarter at UCSD won't set you back in terms of graduating on time. So again, for that reason, fall tends to be more popular. You're just missing fall quarter if you do a fall semester abroad in Korea. And the fall semester does cut into our summer a little bit. So it runs usually from about middle of August through middle of December. So if you have a summer job or a summer internship, or you plan to take summer courses on campus, that's just something to think about. And then, like I said, spring semester cuts into our winter quarter and goes through our spring. That usually starts in mid-March and goes through mid to end of June. So at Yonsei, you can extend from the fall to the spring. I've had a lot of students do this because they get there and they love it so much and they don't want to come home. So they think that they only want to go for the fall semester, and then they extend and stay the full year. You can't participate in more than 2 semester terms at Yonsei. So you couldn't stay there for like a year and a half, but you could do 2 semesters to equal a full year. And then at Seoul National University, they don't offer a summer program. They do have fall and spring. Again, same thing as with Yonsei, where for fall, you would just miss fall quarter. For spring, you would miss winter and spring quarter. You can extend from fall to spring, again, at Seoul National University. Because we haven't had any students there yet, I haven't had anybody do that yet, but we'll see if that happens with future cohorts. And so I don't know if in the future they will think about adding a summer program, but at the moment, if you wanted to study abroad for the summer, it would just be through Yonsei. And the summer program is a 6-week program in about late June to early August, where you take 2 to 3 courses. All right, moving right along. Academics. So at Yonsei University, Korean language study is required each term. And actually, I meant to update that. So it used to be required each term. Very, very recently, they did lift that requirement. However, they do still strongly encourage you to take a Korean language course while you're there, unless obviously you're fluent in Korean. So they just, again, lifted that, so you're not mandated to take a Korean language course. But if you want to study Korean language, they do offer an intensive language course and a non-intensive language course. Again, not required, but absolutely recommended, especially if you don't speak much Korean or you haven't studied it before and you're going to be there for the full semester, then you'll want to go ahead and take one of those courses. They offer a wide array of courses in various disciplines. They have lots of courses taught in English across many different disciplines. So generally, students who go to Yonsei are taking courses, some combination of major, minor, and GE courses for the college. So that is, you don't have to take courses for your major, minor, or GE requirements, but that's generally what students do. And then there are internships that are possible in all terms. So that is something that you would secure once you're on site. You would speak with the study center staff and they would let you know what internships are available, kind of what you're looking for, what you're interested in, and then they would help you to secure that internship. It's not exactly a built-in part of the experience, but it's available to you with a little bit of work in communicating with the study center staff on site. And then for Seoul National University, Korean language study is not available for UCEAP students. So if you are hoping to study Korean language, then definitely Yonsei is going to be the program that you'll want to do. So at SNU, again, you cannot study the language. They do have a wide variety of courses in various disciplines, not quite as many courses taught in English. Again, if you're fluent in Korean, you can take courses taught in Korean at either Yonsei or Seoul National University. And then at Seoul National, internships are not possible. So again, that might change in the future, but at the moment, they're not able to offer any internships. Like I said, that program, since it is brand new, they're kind of starting out with not quite as many offerings as they might have in the future. So stay tuned if you were interested in going to SNU in future terms and doing an internship that might become available. All right, so for the most popular classes, again, since we don't have data for SNU since it's a new program, I'll just share with you what is most popular at Yonsei. As I mentioned, it's 2 to 3 courses for the summer, 4 to 5 for fall or spring. And for the summer, you'll see here this list of courses that are most popular: Korean cinema, Korean pop culture, social psychology, developmental psychology, and international economics. So you'll see that a lot of these have to do, especially the top 2, Korean cinema and Korean pop culture, they have to do with the experience of being in Korea. So I always encourage students to take courses that they wouldn't have available to them at UCSD. So try to, if you have the flexibility with your schedule, it's really nice to take something that is specific to Korean language or Korean culture, Korean history, economics. And you'll see again in the fall, a lot of students took Korean cinema and sociology, communication media in Korea, Korean language and society. So I always encourage students to do that just because it's an opportunity that you don't have here. And if you're going to be in Korea, it's nice to learn a bit more about their culture, history, all of that. Okay, moving right along. And one thing that I wanted to mention about classes, so since Yonsei is on the semester calendar, for students who are there for the full semester, it's about 16 weeks. And in speaking with students who've done this program in the past, their feedback has been that it feels a little bit more manageable than the 10-week quarter at UCSD. So it feels, just because it's not all condensed, obviously, into 10 weeks, I've had students who've taken 5 courses during their term there, and they felt that it was entirely manageable. Students are generally getting very similar grades at Yonsei as what they would get at UCSD. So yeah, I haven't heard from students that the academic rigor at Yonsei is more difficult than UCSD. It seems like it's pretty comparable. And then because the semester is a bit more stretched out, it actually feels slightly more manageable in some cases. So that's good. Okay, and then the study center. So at Yonsei University, I mentioned connecting with the study center staff regarding an internship. So there is a center at Yonsei, which I was able to visit, and they have usually about 3 or 4 staff members, and they have a few student workers as well. That study center is they're going to become your best friends while you're at Yonsei. So any questions that you have, you can go to them about questions, for questions about academics, housing, what to do on the weekend, where the nearest grocery store is, all that kind of stuff. They are very helpful, very accessible, and they also will arrange activities for the UCEAP cohort to do. So they'll take you to some fun activities. I have photos later on about just fun things that they've done in the community in the past. So they might take you to a theater performance on an evening night, or they might do like a day trip to a festival on a weekend, something like that. So they're really trying to build that community within the UCEAP cohort and get you out and about in Seoul as well. They're located in the Commons, main building on campus. Like I said, they organize many events and activities, offer a lot of on-site support, and there's this global lounge that you'll see in the photo there. They really put an emphasis at Yonsei on getting you to communicate and kind of incorporate yourself on campus with the international community there, and also with the local students. So they have a buddy system where you can be paired up with a Korean student, and then they have a lot of events that get you to kind of mix and mingle with the other international students at Yonsei from all over the globe. So that's really cool. And then at Seoul National University, there's the UCEAP liaison on site through the Office of International Affairs. There's not a study center. There are activities available through student clubs and societies, but there's not quite as much that is planned for that EAP cohort. So in some cases, students are looking for an experience that's provided at Yonsei where there is a lot of support. There are go-to people who can help you along the way with any questions you have. Some students are looking for kind of a more independent experience, and in that case, SNU might be a great fit. Again, not to say that one of these is better than the other. It's just a different approach, and you can decide kind of which is better suited to your needs. Okay. And then for financial aid and scholarships, so just to give you an idea of how much the programs cost, fall and spring programs are roughly $16,000, and then the summer program is about $9,000. So depending on what you normally do in a summer, if you normally take UCSD courses during the summer, or if you're normally, working during the summer, depending on what your schedule normally looks like, it can sometimes actually be more cost effective to go for fall or spring as opposed to the summer, because you're not paying tuition to UCSD during your term abroad in fall and spring. You're just essentially kind of transferring that tuition over, although you're not paying what you would pay at UCSD. So anyway, long story short, the total cost for a fall or spring program is right around $16,000. For UCEAP programs, all financial aid does apply. So again, federal, state, UCSD aid, any of that would apply to that program. We have a financial aid advisor in our office. Her name is Tina Briley, and she is fantastic. She can actually pull up your financial aid account. She can show you exactly how the aid that you normally receive at UCSD is going to transfer to your program in Korea. So whether that's a fall or spring program or even a summer program, definitely meet with her if you do receive aid at UCSD, because again, she can walk you through the nuances of your specific financial aid package and how that's going to transfer. And then every year we offer scholarships through our office, through EAP, through national scholarships, and then each college will offer scholarships as well. So in the 18-19 years, about $800,000 that was given away in scholarships. So that's quite a lot of money. I always encourage students to apply for anything and everything that they're eligible for when it comes to scholarships, because I've seen students get multiple awards, and that was able to cover quite a substantial portion of their program fees. So definitely apply for anything and everything that you're eligible for. A lot more information is on our website about what scholarships are offered and what those eligibility requirements are. And then we do offer essay writing workshops in the office. Generally, those are in person. We'll have to get creative about how to do those in the fall if we're still remote. But at those workshops, we will go over some essays that have won awards in the past. So we'll kind of give you an idea of what the committees are looking for, how to build a really strong essay. And that can be really helpful, because we also will go over some draft essays. If you want to submit some drafts to us, we'll go over those with you and kind of help you determine how to make yourself the strongest candidate possible. So that's a great resource for you to come to as well. And then just some quick photos of the Yonsei main campus. So you'll see here in the top right, those stairs go down to a parking lot, and then I believe you can access public transportation from there. And then let's see, on the left, I believe that was where the study center was located. So that would be, you'd be in that building quite a bit. And then below that is a building where some classes are taken. And the photo to the right over here, again, that is, oh, sorry, let me go back. That is where classes are taken as well. And then I'll also show you a photo of the dorm in just a second. So very beautiful campus. It was very lively when I was there in October. It was beautiful fall weather. So if you go for a full semester, you'll get to experience change of seasons, which is really fun. So yeah, highly recommend this experience. And then just a look inside. So I showed you a picture earlier of the Global Lounge. So that is, again, where all of those international kind of mix and mingle events take place. And then on the left there, you'll see that somebody is reserving a spot in the library. So you can actually reserve like a little pod or a place at a table in the library, which I thought was really innovative and interesting. And then on the right, you'll see this is a language course. So I think that that classroom had about 9 to 10 students. It's an intensive language course. So we just got to peek in and see that the students were, I believe at that point, they were doing some conversation practice. So it was fun to see that. Lots of participation was encouraged. So that was really nice to see. And then we ate lunch in the student cafeteria when I was there. It was very affordable, about $4 for a pretty decent lunch. And they have lots of different types of cuisines available. They have a couple different cafeterias on campus. So a lot of the students who studied at Yonsei tell me that they would eat in the cafeteria for lunch and then try to cook dinner in the dorms. Every dorm has a kitchen, so most students would do that to save a bit of money. But yeah, great options there, very tasty food. And this is SK Global House Dormitory. So this is one of the options at Yonsei. There is another dorm option, and also at SNU, you have the option to stay in a dorm as well. So we got a chance to go inside. They were very modern, very clean. They have singles and doubles, if I remember correctly, at SK Global House. And then they also offer off-campus apartments. So this is a place called W House. This is just a very short walk. It's about a 5-minute walk from the downtown campus. Very, very tight quarters. So this is a little bit cheaper than living in the dorms on campus. Most students opt to live in the dorms just for kind of the social aspect of being with all the other students in the dorms. But in case you wanted to live off campus, that is an option. And there are options outside of W House as well. This is just one that I wanted to highlight for you. As you can see, it's on kind of a bustling little street near the campus of Yonsei. And then this is a photo of the Nanta performance that they took us to. Again, this is one of the events that they would organize for that UCEAP cohort at Yonsei. And so this was kind of a cooking / dance show that we got to go see. And then some people actually were pulled on stage and got to take part, which was really fun. So that's just a little example of one of the activities. And then for application info, so the deadlines, again, for Yonsei University, early March is when the summer fall year deadline rolls around. So that is usually like March 5th or 6th. And then early June is for spring. So June 8th, coming up here in just a few weeks, that's going to be the deadline for spring 2021. So if you did want to apply for Yonsei, definitely think about that. Keep that June 8th deadline on your radar. The application itself is quite simple in the early stages, so it shouldn't take you more than, an afternoon to fill that all in. For Seoul National University, same thing, early June, June 8th, the same date as for Yonsei is that spring application deadline. And then it's a little bit earlier for fall, it's mid-February. So if you were looking at fall 2021, let's say, you'd be applying in mid-February for that. And then the GPA requirement is 2.0 for summer, 2.85 for fall, spring, and year. If you don't quite meet that for whatever reason, you can always send me a message, let me know, and we can talk about, I can always contact EAP and see if they can be flexible. Sometimes they can, it kind of just depends, and they do look at your transcript, and it's kind of a case-by-case thing. So, but just let me know if you are below that, perhaps we can work something out. The application is a 2-part application. Part of it is through EAP and part of it is through Tritons Abroad. As I mentioned, it's a fairly simple process in the beginning, and then once you're selected for the program, then you would receive more information from EAP about getting a health clearance form, getting a visa, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of there are kind of 2 waves of the application process, but the first part that's due by June 8th for spring is quite simple. Aside from the GPA requirement, so it's really, for Yonsei, there's no enrollment limit. So as long as you meet that GPA requirement and you're in at least sophomore standing by the time the program begins, you're essentially guaranteed to be selected. So fill in the application and you're good to go pretty much if you meet that GPA requirement and the year in school standing. So, and then for Seoul National University, that program, because it is so new, it is a little bit more competitive. So for the fall, we can take 5 UCSD students right now. And I only had about 2 who applied for the fall. So I don't anticipate that we will have to turn students away for that. But if you are interested, let me know. There's not a limit for spring, so it's just for fall. So if you want to apply for SNU spring, if you meet the GPA requirement, again, if you're at least in sophomore standing, then you're good to go. Summer students with a US passport don't need a visa. Everyone does need a visa for semester programs, and UCEAP will send you instructions on that after you've been selected. So again, in kind of the second phase of the application process, you'll get more information about some documents that you'll need to submit to EAP. They'll also do like a pre-departure webinar. They'll have information on how to sign up for housing. So all of that is going to come later on in the process. Okay, and then next steps would be, obviously on our website, there's a ton of information about EAP, about OAP, about financial aid, scholarships, all that good stuff. So check that out. If you have any questions along the way, let me know, get advised, and you can get advised by doing a number of things. So we have drop-in advising. That is shorter in length, no appointment needed for that, and that's just gonna be kind of like a quick question. So if you're just getting started and you just had kind of a very simple question, you could drop into that drop-in advising on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday at 10:30. And then if you wanted to do kind of a more in-depth half-hour meeting, that would fall under the scheduled advising side. So that is going to be arranged through the Virtual Advising Center. So if you write a message in VAC and let us know 3 half-hour available times that you have, and then your program or country of interest, preferred advisor if applicable, that would just be if you've like worked with one of the advisors before. You could say, I've worked with Rachel in the past and I want to meet with her again. Again, my name is Sabrina. If you wanted to meet with me about Korea, you could say, I'm interested in Korea, or I want to meet with Sabrina. Either way, it would get to me. And then I would set up a Zoom appointment for us for a half-hour meeting. And then obviously if we're on campus in the fall, you can always come into our office and schedule an appointment, and then we could meet in person. And yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But for the moment, we're doing Zoom advising all throughout the summer. We're available all summer. Again, when we're back in the office, we'll update that on the website. But at the moment, for the foreseeable future, we will be doing appointments via Zoom. And then you can follow us on Instagram. We have some fun student assistants that work in our office, and we're doing some highlights, some spotlights of them in the recent weeks. So we're getting information from them about like just funny stories from their experiences abroad, some 5 favorite photos of their experience, and a little bingo sheet. So check that out. That might get you excited, especially 2 of them have studied abroad in Korea, so they might have little tidbits that would be of interest to you. So check that out, follow us, like our posts. And then we also have some more info sessions coming up. So you'll see this is the one that you're in right now, obviously, the Korea info session. If you have friends that are interested in other destinations or STEM majors or anything like that, definitely tell them to check out what's coming up in week 9. So this information is on the website. Again, you can find all that there. So yeah, get in touch with us. If you have questions, obviously you can send them in a Virtual Advising Center message to any of the advisors in our office. And then I will also take Q&A here, but for any of you who are gonna run off, just wanted to let you know that we appreciate that you are hanging in there. We realize that it is a bit of an interesting time for study abroad, and we're so appreciative that you're here and that you're interested in going abroad when it's feasible. So thank you so much for joining, and I will now check out the Q&A. All right, let's see. Okay, so one student asks, is there anything that can be done as a student who has had their study abroad canceled for the summer? Going into my senior year, it will be hard to do the study abroad program for next summer. Will any exceptions be made? What's the usual protocol as a senior who still wants to study abroad? That is a great question. So many students do actually study abroad the summer after their senior year, or even fall after they graduate in spring. So that, especially in times like these, we can generally be pretty flexible with that. So you just want to run that by your college advisor. So you'd explain to them that you were planning to go abroad in summer 2020, that it got canceled, and now you're looking into summer 2021. So in most cases, you would be able to walk at graduation and then go abroad for the summer. So that's generally feasible. Just again, check with your college advisor. Yeah, it's a great question. All right. Would taking courses in any of the universities count for regional specialization credit for ERC? Yes. So a lot of the courses would count. So what you would want to do is you would check on the website if you're looking at Yonsei through EAP, for example, you would look at the courses in the EAP course catalog, and then you'd want to check with your ERC advisor to confirm that any course that you're looking at would count. But a lot of students do take courses to count for that regional specialization. So depending on what your specialization is and what courses you're looking at Yonsei, there's a high likelihood that that would work. You just need to confirm with your ERC advisor about the specific courses. Good question. Okay. Is it too late to apply for this fall at SNU? Unfortunately, yes, it is too late to apply for any fall 2020 programs. So yeah, you could apply for spring SNU, but unfortunately for fall, that deadline was mid-February, and we're still kind of waiting to see if those programs are going to run. So yeah, sorry about that. It is too late for that one. Okay. Let's see, does SNU offer any Korean language? So SNU does not offer Korean language classes. At Yonsei, they have intensive Korean language and non-intensive, but unfortunately at SNU, they do not offer any Korean language. Sorry about that. Okay. What would you say are the main differences between a semester study abroad versus a summer in terms of experiences? I think summer is my only option, but I can't help feel that I'd be missing out on a lot of things. That's a great question. So we have, like I mentioned, the summer program is actually the most popular option just because a lot of students find it easier to study abroad for the summer instead of trying to work it into their academic plan for the year. I will say, I mean, I studied abroad for a semester and it was wonderful. I have colleagues and friends who studied abroad for a full year and some who've done just the summer, and we all kind of advocate for what we did, right? So all of them are amazing experiences. If summer is the only option for you, absolutely do the summer. It's a 6-week program at Yonsei. That's a really, that's a good amount of time to start to kind of feel like more than a tourist and get to know the city, get to know the university. So definitely summer is a great option. Obviously, especially for language learning, the longer the better. If you're there for a full semester and you can take those language courses, you get to really kind of dig in and practice the language more. So for that reason, sometimes, students will opt for a longer experience. The longer you're there, the deeper relationships you can build, obviously. But again, a summer option is, if that's all that's available to you because of your personal circumstances, then certainly that's a great option. And also sometimes it just works out better for whatever reason for your academic trajectory. So summer is a great option as well, and I encourage you all to determine kind of what works best for you and then go with that. Hopefully that answered your question. All right. What will happen if spring gets canceled? Oh no, we're all crossing our fingers and hoping that does not happen. So, of course, the situation with COVID is uncertain right now. We don't know what will happen in the spring. If spring were to get canceled, then we would just hope that fall 2021 would move forward. If you apply for a spring program and it gets canceled, there wouldn't be any withdrawal fees. We would have you enroll in courses at UCSD as a backup, in the fall. That's what we're doing right now, actually, for students who are supposed to go abroad for fall 2020. So we would have you enroll in UCSD courses as a backup for spring, for winter and spring quarter. And then if it gets canceled again, we would work with you to find a program that might work for a future term. But yeah, with the situation as it is right now, again, we are kind of all just crossing our fingers and waiting to see what happens for spring. But at the moment, all of those programs are scheduled to run, and we're hopeful that that will continue to be the case. Good question. All right. Are we restricted by our major? So no. So there are programs that work for all different majors. there are, I won't say restrictions, but sometimes there can be, kind of difficulties if you're looking to get, for example, like 3 or 4 engineering courses on a program at Yonsei. So there are certain programs that work better for certain majors. At Yonsei specifically, there are courses offered in a lot of different disciplines. So Yonsei does tend to work really well for a lot of different majors. But if you have like very specific major courses that you're looking to get, I'd recommend setting up an appointment with an advisor for the program that you're looking at, and then we can kind of dig a little bit deeper to make sure that it's a good fit. Yeah, it's a good question. Where can I find course listings for a certain university? So if you go to the UCEAP page, so if you go to our homepage and then select find a program and go to the UCEAP site, then you can look through any program in any country. You can click onto that program, and on the side you'll see academics. So it'll say eligibility and dates, academics, housing, cost, and if you click on academics, then you can scroll down and look at course lists for any program that's offered through UCEAP. So yeah, I encourage, if you have any questions about those course lists, let me know. But again, that's just on our website. If you go to find a program, UCEAP, and then select the country that you're interested in, and then academics on the side, and you'll find all of that information. All right, I'm an incoming transfer student for fall 2020. I'm planning to study abroad in South Korea at Yonsei University. I still don't have access to tritons abroad, so how can I start processing? So if you are wanting to study abroad for spring 2021, let me know. If you can send a virtual advising center message. If you don't have access to virtual advising center yet, then just send an email to abroad@ucsd.edu, and we can talk about how to get that started for you. Yeah, so at the very least, you should just be able to send an email to abroad@ucsd.edu and let us know, just kind of reiterate what you've typed here, and then I can work with you to get that started. Thanks. How soon do we find out about overlap between Yonsei's classes and ours? So that's a great question, and I will say that at Yonsei and at most of the universities abroad, they do not release their course offerings until much later than we're used to. So if you're going abroad for the spring, you won't actually know what courses are going to be offered until fairly late in fall quarter. So that's why I always tell students, when you're looking at those course offerings on the website, make sure you want to kind of cast a wide net and come up with maybe 8 to 10 courses that you might be interested in taking. And then once the course offerings are actually released, you can look back at that list and see which courses are actually offered and which are going to work. And then as part of the application process, you're filling in an academic planning form. And on that form, you're going to list, like I said, those 8 to 10 courses. That form is then reviewed by your major advisor, your college advisor, and your minor advisor if you're taking minor courses. So your advisors are going to look at the courses that you plan to take, and then they can tell you, okay, this course is going to work for, an elective credit within the major or within the minor. They might say this is going to count for a specific course within the major. So in that way, you're kind of getting your courses pre-approved by your advisors. And then when you return from abroad, you'll go through the official petition for credit. Yeah, good question. Okay, I'm seeing an additional 2 quarters past the normal 4 years. Would it still be possible to do summer abroad for the summer after the 2 quarters? I believe it would be. You just want to double check with your college advisor on that. But like I said, in most cases, they're pretty flexible with that, and it shouldn't be a problem. Good question. Okay. Sure what that was about. Do you know if the Korean courses about film or culture can be usually used to satisfy the DI requirement? Unfortunately, that's a great question, and I wish that I could say yes. Unfortunately, in most cases, the DEI requirement has to be taken on campus. So yeah, that is too bad, because I would love for that to be the case, but unfortunately, generally, that is a no. Sorry about that. Do you pay tuition for UCSD as well as the program cost? No. So the program cost that I mentioned, the $16,000, that covers tuition, insurance, on-site transportation, the activities that they arrange for you. It also covers an estimate of like your housing, your airfare, your meals. So it's the entire experience altogether is roughly $16,000. And during that time, you're not paying anything to UCSD aside from some campus fees, which usually total around $300. So you're paying fees for like REMAC and other things like that because essentially it's supposed to be a literal exchange where you're paying campus fees at UCSD, but you're using those facilities abroad. So yeah, aside from that, those campus fees of about $300, you're not paying anything else to UCSD during that time that you're abroad. Great question. Is fall getting canceled for people right now at Yonsei? What is the current news? Great question. It hasn't been canceled yet. So UCEAP is going to be making decisions about that hopefully in the coming week. Like I said, I haven't heard anything about it being canceled yet. I know that, I mean, I've been following the situation very closely, as has UCEAP and their risk management team. So I'm hopeful that it will run, but a lot of programs abroad, to be totally honest, have been getting canceled recently by the host university. So we're also kind of waiting to hear if if they're going to make a decision about whether or not they will accept incoming students from abroad. So current news is still scheduled to run, but we shall see. Good question. I am planning to study abroad in spring 2021. I'm an incoming transfer student. I don't have access to trains abroad. I'm not sure if this was the same student, but if you just email abroad@ucsd.edu and explain your situation, then we can get you set up and we can figure that all out for you. Great question. All right. This says, Jackie here to learn about Korea's updates, get a refresher in case I get any future questions. I assume that's Jackie, our student assistant. Hello, Jackie. Thanks for being here. We appreciate your support. And yeah, if anybody has questions for Jackie, let me know and I can put you in touch. Jackie studied abroad at Korea and at Yonsei in the spring, just so you all know. For classes such as developmental psych, are they in Korean or English? So that's a great question. All the courses that are taught in this summer are offered in English. So on that summer program at Yonsei, everything is offered in English aside from Korean language courses at the more advanced levels, I believe. But, and then developmental psych, I believe that during fall and spring that has been offered in English at Yonsei. So like I said, they offer a lot of courses taught in English during the semesters, but during the semester programs, they obviously also offer courses taught in Korean. So hopefully that answered your question. If we were to extend our study abroad term from fall to fall and spring, when we have to make our decision by? Another great question. So if you study abroad for fall, you would need to make that decision by, let's see, I believe that would be the end of November, if I remember correctly. If you email me or if you just send a message to abroad@ucsd.edu, I can follow up with you on that. I believe, again, that it's late November, but I can't remember for sure. So send me a message and we will get a definitive answer on that for you. Thank you. Just to clarify, when does applications for Yonsei Summer 2021 open up? So those will be open at the end of fall quarter 2020, and they'll be due the first week of March 2021. So the earliest that you could start your application would be like late November for Yonsei Summer 2021. And then, yeah, they're due in March. So some students won't even start them until the first week of March, and some students start them immediately at the end of November. Yeah. Whatever works. Like I said, it's not a very long application, pretty simple to fill out. So yeah, thanks for that question. If we have family in Korea, do we have an option to live with them instead? Yes. So you can opt out of the housing on campus. You can just decline to do campus housing and live with family in Korea. Some students decline campus housing and they, get an apartment with other people that they know on the program. So yeah, absolutely, you can opt out of the housing if you like. All right. And then finally, how does Yonsei determine which Korean language course we get placed in? That's a good question. So they will give you a test when you arrive, and they will then place you accordingly. And sometimes students feel that maybe they thought they were going to place higher or lower. Generally, I think students feel that they've placed into an appropriate level. If you feel like you didn't place into the correct level, you could let the study center staff know. But generally, yeah, that hasn't been too much of an issue. So great question. Thank you. All right. I think that's it. Does anybody have any other questions? If so, go ahead and type them into the Q&A. Those were wonderful questions. Thank you all for asking those, and thank you so much for coming. I'll stick around for just a few more minutes in case anybody else had more questions. Thanks again. All right. Thank you all so much for coming. Jackie, I unmuted you in case you wanted to share anything. Maybe I should have done that earlier and you could have shared feedback. But if you'd like to chat, I've unmuted you. Or yeah, I think I unmuted you, but perhaps you're still muted on your end.
Hello.
Hi.
I think I'm here.
Hello.
Hi, I like all the updates.
Good.
I hear them.
I'm glad. I don't know. I mean, there's still a few people left. If anybody wanted to type in a question for Jackie, I mean, sorry to put you on the spot like that.
It's okay. I'll answer any questions I get.
Perfect. There is a question about financial aid. So if we have any questions specifically regarding financial aid, it would be better to talk to the financial aid advisor, Tina. Yes, that's correct. So you can contact Tina. If you want to set up an appointment with her, you would send a virtual advising center message and just let us know. Just say, I select study abroad, and then say, this message is for Tina. I'd like to set up an appointment. Here's my availability. And then Tina will get back with you and set up an appointment. So yeah, great question. Thanks for that.
If Tina's amazing, she'll help you out really well.
Yeah, Tina's a great resource. Does anybody who's left have any questions for Jackie, who studied abroad at Yonsei during the spring, or any questions for me? Anything else?
I can talk about a little bit of like the different things I did during the spring if
Sure.
you're interested. So, for example, we went to Busan, which is like all the way south of South Korea, and we tried live octopus, which was very odd to me, but it was very interesting.
Wow. What was it like?
Salty. Extremely salty. But some people really liked it, so there was a difference of taste there.
Yeah, it's always good to have an adventurous palate when you're studying abroad.
We also went through the whole cherry blossom experience while we were in Korea in the spring. It was really pretty. It only lasted like about a week, I believe, but it was still really nice to see.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Did you get some really great pictures of that while you were there?
Yeah, especially since like with my phone I got to do like portrait mode, and we went to like the locations around the Han River. Those were like some really popular picnic spots that you were able to go. You were also able to take like bike rides around there, so it was kind of nice to sit
Yeah,
down for a bit.
that's so great. It looks like there actually is a question for you, Jackie. It says, what was your relationship with the other members of the cohort like?
The cohort in terms of
Like the other students in the UCEAP cohort?
it was actually there weren't that many students, like particularly in the UCAP program that were there. I didn't think that there were too many students, but we all got along pretty well, despite being from different UCs. So that was kind of cool. Um, there weren't too many students from San Diego when I went, but I went with my roommate that was my friend from UCSD. So me and her met a lot of students from universities like UCR. So we actually made friends with other people, and we actually planned our future adventures with them. So that was kind of cool that you get to hang out with different people from different UCs.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that question. Thanks for the answer, Jackie. Let's
So if
see.
you're traveling alone, don't be scared because you'll still meet students from other UCs,
Mhm.
um, and from your background, possibly.
Yeah, perfect. Great question. Anybody else have any questions for Jackie?
Oh, and I don't know if you've mentioned the Angels program that I did.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Can you talk about that? I forgot to mention that.
Okay, so I don't know if this is also available in the fall. I believe it is, but the UCP Angels program is a volunteer program where we got to go to the women's university nearby, which I believe was called Ihua University.
Mhm.
And it's a women's university. And within the university, they have, I believe, it's like a daycare or a small school for students or Korean children that are about like 3 to 5 years old, or maybe a little less or a little more. And UCAP selects few students who apply using like a resume, and they interview you and they select a couple of students to be a part of the program. And basically, what you do is you teach 3 to 5 year olds basic English language. I got placed with 3 year olds, so their understanding of English language by the end of the entire semester was not really much beyond hello and goodbye. But I think the experience was still worth it because you got to share your culture. I got to share like the different kinds of things I eat at home. I got to show them like American money. Like I got to show them like these little cute things that I had with me that were from home, and all the kids loved it. There were like a lot of challenges with communicating with the children and the teachers, but I just jumped into it and tried my best, and overall it was still a lot of fun. It wasn't too lengthy of the volunteer program. We only did it like once a week for like an hour in the morning, so it wasn't it wasn't very heavy work, but it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's such a cool opportunity. I'm so glad you took advantage of that.
Yeah, I would recommend it to anyone who goes to Korea if it's available.
Yeah, it is actually available in the fall and the spring. And I want to say they offer like an abbreviated version of it in the summer too. So anybody who's interested, check that out. Great. Well, it's almost 6. So unless anybody has any last minute questions, we'll probably go ahead and wrap it up. Again, thank you all for coming. And Jackie, thank you so much for being here. This is great. Oh, wait, there's one more. How did you apply for the Angel program, Jackie?
So once you get accepted, once you arrive to Korea, all form of communication is via email. So anything you get from like the Korean UCP Study Center will be via email, and that's how they announced it to us, via email. They give you like a couple, I believe, if I remember correctly, they just ask you to submit a very easy application along with a resume, and then they will tell you if you get called into an interview. Yeah, I believe that's it.
Great. All right, cool. Well, again, thank you to everybody for participating. And please send us a message in the Virtual Advising Center. Again, if you want to set up an appointment, just let us know some available times and your program or country of interest. And yeah, we hope to see you all either virtually or in person very soon. Have a
Thank you,
good night.
Sabrina.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Bye.
Bye bye.